Hey there, deep divers. So are you ready to talk about, like, how crazy fast things are changing in pop culture these days?
It's a lot to keep up with, right?
Seriously. It's like AI art's everywhere now. Y2K fashion is back again. Memes are messing with the stock market. It's wild. But that's why we're here, right? To unpack it all.
Exactly.
And this TrendWatch episode you guys sent over, this one, it's a doozy. Alex and Jamie, they always find the coolest stuff. Plus, get this, we've got weird core and goblin core on the agenda today.
Oh, yeah, those are interesting ones.
I'll admit I wasn't totally sure what those were either before, diving into this. But get ready for some surprises.
I'm intrigued.
Okay, so Alex and Jamie, they kick things off talking about AI, which, let's be real, it's kind of unavoidable these days.
It's true. It's everywhere you look now.
One thing that really stood out was this AI-generated song they talked about. The one made to sound like a Drake and the Weeknd collab. Apparently, people were totally fooled. Like, it makes you wonder, where's the line between, a good imitation and something totally original?
Yeah, it's a question a lot of artists are struggling with right now, especially with the whole legal side of AI and copyright. The podcast mentioned artists feeling like their styles are being copied. Well, this whole song thing, it really brings those concerns to light. Imagine pouring your heart into your work only to have some AI just like replicate it without your permission.
Right. That's got to be an unsettling feeling.
Definitely.
And speaking of things being recreated, but this time from the past, Alex and Jamie also went in on the whole Y2K fashion revival. Low-rise jeans, chunky sneakers, it's all back. But Gen Z's putting their own spin on it, calling it, get this, Y2K 2.0. Part of me was like, ugh, not that again. But then another part of me, maybe it's the nostalgia, kind of loves how they're mixing the old with the new.
Well, nostalgia is a powerful thing, especially when we're living through, as Alex and Jamie put it, interesting times. Remember how they talked about like all the stress from social media
Yeah.
and the pandemic and the economic stuff?
Yeah, it's a lot.
It really is.
Right.
And it's like when the present gets to be too much, we look for comfort in familiar things from the past. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, go on.
And Y2K fashion, it's not the only one. Think about how many times we've seen bell bottoms or shoulder pads come back around. What we wear, it often reflects how we feel about the present by drawing from the past.
Totally. Okay, ready for something completely different. Memes. Remember when they were just like silly jokes we'd share online? Well, Alex and Jamie made a really good point. They've become way more than that. They're like this whole cultural currency now.
It's true. They've taken on a life of their own.
Like they talked about how, okay, boomer went from like a funny phrase to this representation of a whole generational divide. And then there's the whole GameStop thing. A meme practically caused a stock market frenzy. It's crazy to think about how something that started as like just a bit of fun could have such a real world impact.
It really shows you how memes can tap into these shared like anxieties and experiences we have and then spread so quickly because they're so easy to understand and share. It's like they've become a form of social commentary, short, relatable, and often really funny.
Right. And speaking of like blurring the lines between online and offline, Alex and Jamie got really into virtual influencers, especially Lil McKella. She's fascinating. A digital creation who's got millions of followers, brand deals, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
If you just saw her Instagram, you might not even realize she's not a real person.
It really makes you think about what real even means these days, especially for younger generations who've grown up with this tech all around them. And it goes like way deeper than that. Remember Alex and Jamie talking about virtual concerts and digital fashion in the metaverse? Those aren't just like passing fads anymore.
Yeah.
They're changing how we experience stuff like entertainment, even community, how we see ourselves.
Yeah, it's like that whole thing of a virtual influencer releasing an album doesn't even sound that crazy anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, would you listen to one?
Mm.
Part of me is still trying to wrap my head around it, but then it's like, why not, right?
It's true.
Okay, so we've got AI making art and music. Y2K fashion is back. Memes are out there causing real-world chaos. It's a lot. And then there's Lil McKella and the metaverse, blurring the lines between what's real and what's not. It's like this nonstop flood of new information, new experiences, and it's all happening so fast.
That's what's so fascinating about right now, though. We're seeing culture evolve at warp speed. Trends aren't just trends anymore. They're like these forces shaping how we see the world, how we understand ourselves.
And it's not even about each trend by itself, is it? Alex and Jamie touched on this, but what's really wild is how interconnected everything is.
Absolutely. That's the thing. It's like this big web where everything's connected. Each trend influencing and feeding off the others.
Yeah.
Like AI is being used to create these like Y2K inspired designs for virtual fashion lines in the
Oh,
metaverse.
wow.
Right. And who's rocking those designs and sharing memes about them? Virtual influencers like Lumakilla. It's this constant cycle of creation, consumption, and reinvention.
Whoa. So it's like this weird, wild feedback loop of trends influencing trends. It's almost like trying to understand the internet by only looking at one website. You can't just look at any of this stuff on its own anymore, can you?
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting because, like Alex and Jamie were saying, things are changing so quickly now that it feels like we can barely get a handle on one trend before the next one pops up.
It's kind of exciting in a way, right?
Yeah.
But it also makes you wonder, like,
What happens when things change even faster? Like even faster than we can wrap our heads around them. It's like
Gotcha.
we're trying to solve a puzzle, but the pieces keep changing shape right in front of our eyes, you know?
Totally. It's
Yeah.
like we're all just running to catch up. And as much as I love, geeking out about all this stuff, it does make you stop and think, like, where is all of this going?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
But maybe instead of trying to predict the future, the better question is like, how do we even navigate this crazy, constantly changing world?
Right. And how do we make sure we're not just along for the ride? Like, how do we help shape the culture we want to see, instead of just letting it happen to us?
Now you're talking. Because all of this, the AI, the Y2K fashion, the memes, whatever's next, it all comes back to us, doesn't it?
What do you mean?
It's all a reflection of US. Our anxieties, our hopes, what we think is funny, our creative side.
So it's less about, like, figuring out each trend on its own and more about seeing what they say about us, about the world we're building.
Exactly. It's about understanding the big picture, how it's all connected.
Okay, deep divers. So next time you're scrolling through your feed, maybe you see those Y2K inspired ads, or you're laughing at some AI generated meme. Take a second. Think about all this.
It makes you think, right?
It really does. And remember, it's not just about the trends themselves. It's about what they tell us about ourselves and about the world we're creating. Keep those questions coming because this conversation, it's far from over.